Hello. So today I start with a story. It's about this Christmas tree, and it's not even my Christmas tree. A neighbor dumped it outside, and then the city garden workers dumped it onto my balcony. And I wonder if it was a coincidence that it was specifically my balcony, because both of my other neighbors are strong big males and it was not dumped on their balcony. And it could be a coincidence, I'm sure, but I just find it one of those typical experiences. As a woman who lives alone for most of my adult life, I find it so typical. So even though I consciously don't have a Christmas tree myself, I now have to deal with the disposal of my neighbor's tree, whether I like it or not. And if I dump it now outside, I will be the one to blame because everyone saw it on my balcony already. But I also care for the environment, so I will dispose of it properly. And I will do that while I share my values as a minimalist and highly sensitive woman. And of course, if it were just for this one incident, I would not think that much of it. But especially at that time when I was feeling vulnerable, I noticed that predatory people are opportunists who seek people at their weakest moments. And it felt like these people came to me with their aggressive behavior, especially in places that I cannot escape them, like my home and my workplace. I remember being targeted by my neighbor at that same time for no reason and nothing that was my fault. A man, let alone a stranger, who is dominant and aggressive towards me. A woman that is just not acceptable for me at all. And I also had a female coworker being disrespectful and harassing me at work, also for no reason, all at the same time, while I was dealing with my pets dying, me just not feeling well, and also not really having that much support at that time. And it made me think about this topic, and it's all fine now. Everything is under control, and I did speak up and I did create distance. But with high conflict and aggressive people, I just remind myself it did not start with me. I did not start this. I did not start acting disrespectful. I did not do anything cruel or aggressive. It is on them and I won't let them. I don't like these conflicts for no reason. I don't like being attacked. I don't like being yelled at and all the dramas they create and thrive on. But I know that I did not start it, and I also know that some people feed off that kind of energy, and the best thing I can do is ignore them if I can. But if I can't, so be it. And I don't owe aggressive people any kindness. I do not want them in my attention field at all. But I will make it very clear to them that they need to stay away from me. And I literally will go to all lengths to create distance between us. Even though it makes me uncomfortable, even though it was not by choice. But I just always remind myself I did not start this. It did not start with me. And that really helps me a lot as a minimalist woman. And also I now pay attention to people's character if I see some friendship or dating potential. The most important thing for me is, are they givers too? Do they seem to care for others in general? Do they seem to have high empathy? Because there is nothing more important for me as a woman living alone than having caring, empathic people in my life. I, of course, don't expect any perfection, but as a giver, it's so important to be surrounded by other givers. And I am aware of the pitfalls of being a woman, the high expectations that are put on us, on achievements, on doing it all, having it all, being on time with all the societal milestones, and also that oftentimes we are a bit undersupported, underappreciated, and undercared for. And this is why, especially for me as a woman, minimalism is so important. As a minimalist woman, I value calmness more than anything, and I try to prioritize a calm home, a calm nervous system, and I find that life is very chaotic and things and problems will be thrown at you anyway, so I might as well try to keep that what I can control as simple and calm as possible. A noisy world wants us to drown in excess and anxiety, and our power lies in choosing simplicity and presence. And I can create more peace by removing more out of my life, and I try to be less distracted, less rushed, and I feel like I have the most freedom when I have a clear mind and when I have time on my hands. I am a thinker and a daydreamer more than I am a doer. I love calmness, slow mornings, and silence, and I love spending time alone to process my thoughts, to think, and to clean and organize while I think, to listen to audiobooks about the universe, about consciousness, and to think about life's purpose. Why are we even here? I love philosophical life questions, and I love to have time to just think and wonder about them, to stare out of the window, to sip some coffee and just experience being alive and existing. And I try to feel connected with the universe at large, something bigger, something of more meaning at least. I try to listen to what feels right for me, no matter what is expected from me, what is advised. And I might be the biggest exception on the rule, but if so, then so be it. And I try to guide myself through internal motivation and fulfillment, rather than being focused on external expectations and pressures. It's my goal to practice making my own decisions as a minimalist woman and owning them. Of course, this can be difficult sometimes, and it's also not about perfection. There are, of course, situations where I really value other people's perspectives, but I want to build trust in myself and in my intuition. I feel like the world has so much to tell you what you should do, and it's easy to get lost in other people's thoughts, expectations, and to not really know what you want yourself. So the last couple of years, I have tried to avoid asking for advice as much as possible because I want to be able to make my own choices as a woman, especially. And I really want to grow in that, to trusting myself. And it's also important for me that I make decisions based out of compassion for myself, and that if I make a mistake, I try, of course, to own it, but I also try to not be too perfectionistic about it. Life is meant to be messy. It's not meant to do it all right all the time, to already know how to live well. That's part of being here, learning. And I am allowed to make mistakes and to learn. I am allowed to not know things, and I am allowed to not know better sometimes. As a child, I have always been very harshly punished for making mistakes, and it never felt or sat right with me. And as an adult, I really do my best to be different and to not operate out of shame and guilt and punishment, but out of compassion, and most important, to make decisions out of love and a good place, not fear or shame. Lately, I try to avoid pressures as much as possible anyway, and I want to go with the flow more. I try to let go of many things and feelings, expectations, and instead of that, I try to focus on enjoying more and enjoying the simplicity and lightness and just small things, rather than trying to hold on too tightly to controlling things. And I just try to find ease in simplicity. I am naturally drawn to some form of discipline, be it with food, with tidying up, cleaning, and decluttering, also with working on projects. And I love the flow state when I'm creative, and I love that it goes natural with being creative most of the times, and I feel so blessed with that, with the flow. And sometimes it is more present and other times it's less present. There are periods where it's not present at all, but I don't really try to force it too much. And I feel like existing and being alive for me already is a purpose in and of itself. I just don't want to put any more pressure on myself anymore. And for me, as a minimalist woman, values matter, respect matters, consideration matters. It matters to me in daily life, in the micro, but also in the macro behaviors, in the small and big gestures. It matters to me that I am being considerate of my surroundings, that I don't block the entire aisle in a supermarket for everyone around me because I'm oblivious to other people's existence. I don't want to blast music at night, and instead I want to care for my neighbor's life quality. It matters to me that people feel seen and heard, and I try to do my best to care. I try to prioritize authenticity, but also joy and just fun, being a bit silly. I think for me as a woman, these are so important. Trying not to be too serious, to live a bit lighter. Also trying to make it easy for myself to live this way, not taking up too many responsibilities in the form of taking care of many items, many things to clean, many household chores, but even pets I have learned in the last couple of years. Just not making life harder for myself than it already is, and deciding where I want to put my focus and energy in, and just to make it as easy as possible. I try not to care too much about how I am being perceived, about judgments and what others expect from me, the pressure they put on me, and instead I try to live by my own values and also with compassion for myself too. I can't be working myself to death, and I can't hustle all the time. I can't always want or need more, do more, achieve more, do it all the time and so forth, because I need lots of rest, and I don't put much value in accumulating many things or expensive things or keeping up with the Joneses, and I just try to enjoy daily life, and I try to romanticize and enjoy the small things like a nice coffee, a candle, a good book, some favorite music every day, going for a walk, and those kind of things. I try not to care too much about societal milestones and having to have done or accomplished certain things, especially by a certain age. For me, the only thing that matters is if something aligns with me authentically, and not that I am chasing other people's dreams and expectations, and if things come to my path or not. It doesn't really matter. Sometimes just getting through the day feels like the biggest win there is already, and that's fine too. And besides all these expectations, what we should achieve about certain milestones, what we should accumulate for status, on the other side, there is not even that much support to find usually. People are busy themselves and occupied with their own life, and especially difficult times make you realize on how few people you can count on. So I kind of have to take care of myself and try to make my life as simple as possible. Also out of necessity, not because I want to be hyper independent by choice, but because it's crucial for my well-being. I don't really have that much other options, even if I wanted to, because stress is such a huge influence. So as a minimalist woman, I try to create a life with as little stressors as I can, and even then there still be enough to worry about. As a minimalist woman, I prioritize safety, and for me boundaries matter. I no longer feel the need to be polite and to be perceived as kind by everyone, but especially in workplace settings or just by strangers. I educate myself on predatory and narcissistic behavior just so to know what to watch out for, and I often hear from other people that they find me soft and gentle and agreeable, and that it is very clear that I am such a person, and I know of myself that I'm compassionate, that it's easy for me to feel empathy for others and to take up more responsibility than I have to work harder, to give more and more. And I know that I am always the first one to be taken advantage of, especially in workplaces, and I am aware of this, and that predatory people or high conflict people see me as a perfect target. As a child, I was not aware, but as an adult woman, I keep this in the back of my mind all the time. It's difficult for me to really change my nature, but at least if I'm aware of it, I know what to watch out for. And my number one priority is my own safety and well-being. I know that I play a win-win game in life. So for me, I can only really win if others win too, but I know that not everybody else does that, and that many actually play a win-lose game in this life, and where they think that they can only win or get something if someone else loses. So it's important for me to be aware of this. Especially as a woman who lives alone, I have to be careful with boundaries and just not sharing too much anyway. I value my privacy and personal distance. I have to take care of myself and keep myself safe, and I don't mind if this means sometimes that I am being perceived as unkind or too private by coworkers or other people that I have no intention to be friends with. If I see friendship potential, then of course it's a different story, but if I don't see that, I don't owe anyone anything. And I don't owe anyone any personal stories, details, or any information, or even emotional information for that matter. And I try to say no as often as possible. I'm only being vulnerable and open and sharing with the people I trust, or if I see potential that I could trust them in the future, when I can place them in a different category. Taking care of myself is my highest priority, and I know I need warmth and silence and empathy in my life, so I try to move more towards that, also through minimalism. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it so much. See you next time.